everyone, and we are now in our week 5, and our topic for today is about graph of rational functions. So where do we usually use rational functions in real life? So we have here the medical examples, and also we can see the graph of rational functions in some furniture and appliances in our house. So like for example in this chandelier, which its shape is looks like a graph of a rational functions. So guidelines for graphing rational functions. First is find and plot the y-intercept, if any, by evaluating f of 0. Second is find the zeros of the numerator, if any, by setting the numerator equal to 0, then plot the x-intercepts. Third is find the zeros of the denominator, if any, by setting the denominator equal to 0, then sketch the corresponding vertical asymptotes using dashed vertical lines. Fourth is find and sketch any other asymptotes of the graph using dashed lines. Fifth is plot at least one point between and one point beyond each x-intercept and vertical asymptote. Sixth is use smooth curves to complete the graph between and beyond the vertical asymptotes, excluding any points where f is not defined. So let's have an example. Sketch the graph of f of x equals x plus 3 all over 2x. So first is to solve for the y-intercept by letting by evaluating f of 0. So okay, let me show it. So if x there is 0, so f of 0 equals sorry. Okay, so this becomes 0 plus 3 all over 2 times 0. Simplifying, we have 3 divided by 0. So take note that our denominator is 0 and it will make our function undefined if x is 0. So therefore, f of 0 does not exist if x equals 0 since x equals 0 is not in the domain, or x equals 0 is not part as our x values for the domain or for the variable x. Next, step 2 is to solve for the x-intercept by letting f of x equals 0. So we are now solving for the x-intercepts by letting f of x equals 0. So we substitute here, this becomes 0 equals x plus 3 all over 2x, then simplifying or solve for x. So we divide both sides of the equation by 2x to remove the denominator here because our LCD is 2x. And then simplifying, we have now x plus 3 equals 0. And then since we have 3 here, positive 3, subtracting both sides of the equation by 3, so we have x equals negative 3. So our x-intercepts is when x equals negative 3, the value of y is 0. So here is our x-intercepts. Next is to find for the vertical asymptote. So to find for the vertical asymptote, that is evaluating our denominator equal to 0, since our denominator is 2x. So you equate this to 0 and then solve for x. So 2x equals 0. So since may 2 nga tupad ang aton variable x, we divide both sides of the equation by 2. So we have now x equals 0. Since 0 divided by 2 is still 0. So our vertical asymptote is x equals 0. Next is to look for the horizontal asymptote. So let's go back. Our given function is f of x equals x plus 3 all over 2x. So we try to look the degree of exponent between the numerator and the denominator. Since they have equal degree of exponent, so we can copy the coefficients 1 and 2 as our horizontal asymptote. So our horizontal asymptote here is y equals 1/2. Since the degree of the numerator is equal to the degree of the denominator. Step 5 is to create table of values. So choose any points from the x-axis. So you can choose points to the left, at least 3 points to the left of your asymptotes, of your vertical asymptotes, and then also 3 points to the, at least 3 points to the left side, to the right side of your vertical asymptote. So we have here, so for my example, ang ginkuha ko is -5, -3, -1, and then 0. Since 0 is undefined because this is our vertical asymptote. And then, so nag-choose man ko 3 points sa right side sa aton nga vertical asymptote, which is 1, 3, 5. So depende sa inyo as long as ara siya sa x-axis nga mga points ang ginpili. Okay, so let us substitute here. Since ang first na gingkuha sa ang x value is -5, so substitute sa aton nga function. So let's change this. -5 plus 3 all over 2 times -5. So simplifying, ang answer is 0.2. Next, ang x value is -3. I-substitute sa aton yung function. So, tanan di nga x nga makita nyo sa function ta, is lang tanan siya -3. So, mahimo siya -3 plus 3 divided by 2 times -3. So, that is 0 divided by -6, or 0, oh yes, that is 0 divided by -6 is equal to 0. Next, let us substitute -1. So the answer is -1. If it is 0, then undefined. If it is 1, the answer is 2. If x is 3, f of x is 1. If x is 5, so the answer is 0.8. And then let's use these points to plot, to graph our rational functions. So take note that the graph must not cross or touch the dashed lines. So let us graph first our asymptotes. So our vertical asymptote is x equals 0. So i-graph ta unang aton nga vertical asymptote, then after ta na-plot ang graph ang vertical asymptote, next na nga i-graph is ang horizontal asymptote nga y equals 1/2. Since alin na di kang part si 1/2, this is 0, then positive 1. So in between sa 0 and 1, that is positive 1/2. So dili makit-an si 1/2, and then you create a line y equals 1/2. Next, so kagina sa ato nga table of values, may nakuha to nga mga points, pair of points. Amo to siya si 1, 2, then i-plot nyo. So si 1, amo ni siya ang x variable. Ang y, amo ni siya ang 2. So we plot 1, then 2. Next plot is 3. So our x coordinate is 3. And then our y coordinate is 1. So that is 3, 1. And then our x coordinate is 5. And the y coordinate is 0.8. So diri siya nga part. 0.8. Wala siya naglapaw sa 1. Same also sa at least 3 points on the left side of our vertical asymptotes. And then you create a smooth curve to graph the rational functions. Let's have another example. Sketch the graph of f of x equals x all over x squared minus 9. So to solve for the y-intercept, letting or evaluating f of 0. So this becomes f of 0 equals 0 all over 0 squared minus 9. So that is 0 divided by negative 9 is 0. So that's why our y-intercept is 0, 0. Next is to solve for the y-intercept by letting f of x. So ginahimo ta naman di 0 is si f of x. So by letting f of x equals 0. So this becomes 0 equals x all over x squared minus 9. Next is dividing both sides by the LCD, which is x squared minus 9. So since any number divided by 0 is always 0, so our x is equal to 0. Next, our y-intercept is 0, 0. Next is to solve for the vertical asymptote. So by equating our denominator to 0, that is x squared minus 9 equals 0. Using difference of two squares, so we have x minus 3 times the quantity of x plus 3. So this is the application of our factoring. Applying factoring, so solve for x, we have x equals negative 3 and x equals positive 3. Next is to solve for the horizontal asymptote by looking on the degree of the exponent between numerator and the denominator. So let's take a look on the leading coefficient. So when we say leading coefficient, amo na sa ang variable or ang letter that sa aton nga function nga may pinaka-highest nga exponent. So since may pinaka-highest nga exponent sa numerator is only x, which is 1 the exponent, then ang next nga may variable is si x, and then yung exponent is squared. So, sino mas dako exponent? Si numerator or the denominator? Okay, so ang pinakadako nga exponent ara sa denominator. So, kung ang exponent gani, if the degree of the denominator is greater than the degree of the numerator, therefore, aton permi horizontal asymptote is y equals 0 since the degree of the numerator is less than the degree of denominator. Okay, next is to create table of values. So, ano to gani aton yung vertical asymptote that is negative 3 and positive 3. So, pwede yun tadi ka create some aton nga vertical asymptote, i-graph ka na. So, di si negative 3 nga x, and then si positive 3 nga x coordinate here, dili nga part. Next is to graph y equals 0. So, si y equals 0, amo na siya aton nga x-axis. So, dili ni siya nga part sa aton nga x-axis. Ang aton nga horizontal asymptote. Okay, next is to create table of values by getting any points from our x-axis. So, ang ginkuha ko nga points sa aton x-axis, mayara negative 5, negative 4, negative 2, negative 1, 1, 2, 4, 5. So, depende na sa inyo as long as makit-an lang siya sa aton nga x-axis. So, ari di si -1 sa x-axis. And then, -2, -3, -4, -5. Okay, so +1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So, pwede ka mo ka-pick any points or values ng x. And then, you substitute -5 to our function nga f of x equals x all over x squared minus 9. So, i-substitute si -5 sa tanan di nga x nga makit-an nyo sa aton nga function. And then, the answer is -5 all over 16. Same also. So, i-substitute nyo sa x naman is -4. So, isla nyo lang siya -4. Ang answer is -4 over 7. Next is you substitute -2 sa x variables. Okay, so you substitute. So, ang answer is 2/5. Until you finished all these points. Nga gipang pick nyo. Okay, then you plot. So, we plot -5. So, if x is -5, ang value ka y or the value of f of x. So, this is our x-axis. This is our y-axis or pwede man siya ang ato niya f of x nga axis. So, if x is -5, our f of x is equal to -5 over 16. So, -5 over 16, that is, okay, -5 divided by 16, that is -0.3125. So, wala siya naglapaw sa aton nga -1. Wala siya naglapaw sa 0. So, diri siya nga part sa aton nga Cartesian plane. Next is to plot -4. So, sa x -4, diri siya nga side, -4. And then, aton f of x is -4, 7. So, -4 divided by 7, that is -0.57. So, 0.57, dali siya nga part. So, you estimate. Okay, next, if x is -1, so -1, dali siya nga part. Ang aton nga f of x is 1/8. So, dili nga part. Wala siya naglapaw sa 1. Dili lang siya yun, sa 1/8. Okay, next, you plot +1. So, if x is +1, ang point niya is -1/8. So, dili lang nga part. Next, if x is +2, ang iyang f of x is -2/5, dili nga part. If it is +4, iyang f of x is 4/7. And then, if x is 5, iyang f of x is 5 over 16. So, 5 divided by 16, that is 0.3125. So, dili lang, wala siya naglapaw sa 1. Okay. So, after nyo i-plot tanan nga points, you create a smooth curve. Take note, mayari ka mo di mga dashed lines. So, dapat hindi na siya maglapaw sa atong dashed lines. Dili ka lang apart. Hindi ka maglapaw sa aton nga dashed lines. And then, you connect all the points. Okay. So, hindi ka pwede maglapaw sa dashed lines. Okay, so kung basta mag-connect sang points, so hindi pwedeng amonyo ni siya, ha? Hindi pwede since may ari kita di boundary. Hari, ang aton boundary. Hindi tadi pwede maglapaw. Okay? So, I hope you understand in this part. If you have questions, kindly message me to our group chat and That's all. Thank you for listening. For your activity and assignment, just message me if you have questions. Thank you.